And welcome into Poke the Bear episode 43, the Danton Heinen episode. I am Evan Marinofski alongside Conor Ryan of Boston Sports Journal. Conor, how we doing?
Evan, very excited. Ready for the playoffs to get going.
Oh, as am I. It is fast approaching. We guessed on Bruins Beat that it would be Saturday night, and we were correct. That it is Saturday at 7. Bruins-Capitals opening their very exciting series that we will preview fully in this episode. Every part of it we will touch upon. But before we do, there's a couple little Bruins news things that have taken place over the past day or so that deserve some mention. Jeremy Swayman, the backup for the playoffs, which is kind of what we expected, given off how good Swayman was in the regular season. I mean, he just jumped onto the scene. And Cam Neely even mentioned it in his press conference Wednesday that, they're in a different place goaltending wise with the plan than they were even just 2 months ago.
Yeah, no, it's interesting when Bruce Cassidy announced after Tuesday's game against the Capitals that Swayman had indeed kind of shored up that backup spot. You saw on Twitter, a lot of people were like, "Oh, this is crazy! This is awesome!" It's like, is it really surprising? It's great to see a guy like him who a few months ago you thought he was going to be down in the AHL for a couple of years seize that spot. But I mean, just look at his body of work. Look at what he's done in this past month. I mean, 7-3-0, 9.45 save percentage, leads all goalies in the entire NHL and high danger save percentage. I mean, seems like every single breakaway or rebound down low, he's squared away. He's tracking the puck well. So yeah, it's not really that much of a surprise. It's obviously a tough break for Yaroslav Halak, who it wasn't like people were like, "All right, see you later, Halak." It's like, no, it wasn't like he was bad this year. Like, was he the best? No, but like it wasn't like he was a detriment to the team when he was in there. But you just look at the way Swayman's been playing. You can't argue against it, right? I mean, he gives you the best chance as the backup guy. Again, I think we've talked on this multiple times. Ideally, you don't have to even worry about putting Swayman in there, right? That's something is gonna have to go wrong, I think, to put Swayman in there. But it's definitely a testament to him as a rookie, a guy who, prior to getting called up to Boston, only played 9 games down in Providence. It wasn't like he's like this seasoned AHLer ready to roll. I mean, he kind of got thrown into the fire and has been fantastic all year long, whether it be down in the AHL or in the NHL. So well deserved for him. And as you said, from what Neely talked about during Wednesday's press conference, like the overall game plan has to change in terms of how you view going forward. Not saying that they're going to kick Rask to the curb, but it very well could be a situation where Swayman's locked in as that backup as the new heir apparent by next year.
I think there was a chance that Halak was going to be the backup next year, before he actually got COVID. Like, that was really what started the whole getting Swayman in there was Halak got COVID. Like, that was the issue. And he had issues with it after. So that really was kind of how Swayman got his shot, and he made the most of it, and he deserves to be the backup. Like, I don't think many people, as you said, like, this was not a surprise by any means. Another non-surprise, Nick Ritchie wins the 7th player award. The highly contested, highly debated NESN 7th player award this year goes to Nicholas Ritchie, which it really was also not a surprise. I mean, that's what we expected, provided great offense, especially at the beginning of the year when he was like leading the Bruins in goals for the first couple of, was it weeks or games? It was first month,
at least a couple of weeks. I mean, that power play in that first month was like, I have to feel like 2/3 of all their goals were just like either tips or rebounds from Ritchie down at the net front. But yeah, no, as you said, not much of a surprise. There are people talking about Craig Smith, who I don't think was even on the ballot. I think maybe they've learned from years past of like, we're going to have it be limited to bottom 6 or deep pairing off the top pair. So I guess the expectation was Craig Smith was going to be this kind of player. I think he still exceeded expectations, but you look at just where Nick Ritchie was going into the season. I feel like there was quite a few people who were probably like, if Nick Ritchie gets bought out or he doesn't make the team or he's, a bench guy, that's about right. People were like, considering kind of how rough his stretch was in the Toronto playoffs or up in the Toronto bubble, didn't really know what to expect from him, right? Was he going to be this guy who's not going to drive offense, who's going to be, taking unnecessary penalties. And so far, he's fit the bill of what you're looking for, especially now, I think, in this third line role that he's in. It's definitely a different look from that third line in years past, where it seemed like that this is going to be the de facto heavier line. But so far, it's worked out. I mean, I was a skeptic of how him, Corrali, and Coyle were going to look, and they're outscoring teams 4-1 during the limited time together. So, so far, that has been probably one of the most surprising developments, I think, down the stretch here. I think obviously people talk about Hall and that second line. Yes, of course, it's great, but you could kind of see the writing on the wall there. You couldn't really see the writing on the wall with this third line the way they're playing, and especially Richie down the stretch, which I think is very encouraging for the Bruins, because if him and Corrali and those guys are carrying some momentum going to the playoffs, it's going to make an already pretty deep forward group that much better.
And he got to wear the A in the regular season finale.
And he got to wear the A, yeah.
We will never forget. I'll never forget where you were when that happened. I also think when, the two guys we talked about, Swayman and Richie, probably the two most pleasant surprises of the season. Obviously, Hall in the second line was pretty big, but it's Taylor Hall. Like, I know there's some skeptics, like, with the Ken Campbells of the world and just people in general, but it's still freaking Taylor Hall. I do think Nick Ritchie, doing what he did this year after everything that happened last year, and Jeremy Swayman coming in and just dominating after, as you said, 9 AHL games, and he was in Maine last year. Like that, those are very pleasant surprises. I think if you had polled the Bruins at the beginning of the season, I don't think they would have expected either of those things to happen. And so again, I mean, pleasant surprises for them. So as now the big topic this time of year, it's funny actually, because if the playoffs weren't happening right now, let's say the playoffs were let's say it got announced 2 to 3 weeks from now. So like Bruins-Capitals in a hypothetical world is happening 3 weeks from Saturday. They're going to wait till everything's done, everything's settled, guys are vaccinated, whatever, which would be really weird. But let's say that happened. Do you know what today's topic would be? I bet you can guess. And we've done this topic 1,000 times, would be Jack Eichel to the Bruins. That would be what today's topic would be. Jack Eichel to the Boston Bruins. So glad that we don't have to discuss that today, because we have battered that. It's funny because it's the same conversation every time. It's always just like, oh, it's too. Do
you want to give up Pastrnak or McAvoy? No, okay.
Okay, that's it. That's done. You're over. Like, that's literally the crux of every single trade rumor with him. Like, Fluto put out, you need to give up McAvoy or Pastrnak. Okay, then you wouldn't do it. And then people kind of, I love, we've done this bit 1,000 times, the trade propositions of, Vakanainen, Studnicka, a first, and David Krejci for Jack Eichel. It's like, oh, yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, let's do that. So I miss not having to do it, but I'm also very glad that we have real things to talk about.
We laugh heaven though, but we're going to be talking about this in July. So
no, that's it's going to happen because it's going to become more legit.
We're laughing, but it's exactly. We're going to have someone's going to have a Snapchat of Eichel on a boat in Martha's Vineyard talking about how much he loves the Bruins on 4th of July weekend. It's going to set it up all over again. So we're just, this is like a preview. We're throwing a little teaser trailer out there before we do the real deep dive later this summer when we have nothing to talk about.
Or he'll be visiting BU, just simply visiting his alma mater, and someone will be like, "Oh, he's in Boston." There he is.
North Chelmsford. It's going to be the Larry Fitzgerald Logan Airport. It's Jack Eichel's spotted in Boston. He lives here during the offseason. I don't know if you know this, but he's from North Chelmsford, so it's not really much of a surprise, guys.
He's coming back. He'll be walking past the Garden to go to
Guy Fieri's
Tavern in the
Tequila
Square.
Cucina, man.
Or there.
noted fan of Guy Fieri, Jack Eichel, is going to be at Guy Fieri's Tequila Cucina. So
yes, or he'll be going to as I said, Tavern in the Square, and he'll be near the Garden, and they'll be like, oh, he's walking in the Garden. He'd walk past it, or they'll pull up a picture from his college days.
They're going to announce it. He's going to sign. He's going to announce it. He's going to demand a trade. And he's going to be the fan banner captain for the playoffs. Yeah. It's gonna be Jack in a Sabres jersey though, doing it just to twist the knife more, because I think Sabres fans have had a hell of a week, a month,
a year.
Yeah, no, it's been a rough
7 years. As Lucic said, it ended when he absolutely crushed Ryan Miller. Once that happened, everything just spiraled downwards. So that's gonna be interesting to see how that plays out though this summer, because as you said, guaranteed we're talking about that in July, no doubt. But there are more important things on the menu this week. Bruins-Capitals, as we said, begins Saturday night. This is a series that we expected to probably end up happening. You knew that, well, first of all, you knew it was one of three teams, and then it went down to two, and then it was like, well, we know it's going to be the Capitals. So I'm interested in this series. I'm interested for a lot of reasons. Obviously, there's the stuff that is, that's pretty general. There's obviously the obvious Tom Wilson stuff, which I imagine we'll get to. But I think the most interesting storyline of this series is the Chara one, is the fact that Zdeno Chara, the defenseman that you pretty much said, we don't really have a spot for you. We're going to you won't play every night. You'll be a third pairing guy, but we're not going to play you consistently, not going to have consistent minutes. Pretty much like, if you find somewhere better, go. And that team was the Capitals, and you're playing them in the first round now. And he's part of their six. He'll be playing. He'll play every game. And I'm so interested to see how this plays out, because as Jeff Israel tweeted, either way, there's going to be a handshake at the end of it. And it's going to be like sad no matter what. Chara handshaking with Bergeron and Marchand and Krejci. So no matter what, the handshake line will happen, unless they don't because of COVID, but I would imagine they would. Because remember, we got deprived of the handshake line last year.
Yes.
Which was sad, which was was there a handshake line last year?
Maybe it was halfway through the playoffs, I want to say.
Because remember, that was when Emmerich, wasn't that when Doc gave eulogy for Chara?
They had to have been, yeah.
There must have been. There definitely was. Again, people are slamming their steering wheels. Going, what?
There was. He's in shambles right now.
Yes, he is. He is banging his steering wheel right now. But no. So I'm very interested to see how that plays out. I don't think Chara's going to be a focal point of the series and matchup wise, but I think that's going to be an underlying story that we consistently watch. And I'm interested to hear what your take is on that.
Yeah, it's kind of ironic, right? That the Bruins didn't think he was going to be in their plans, or Chara interpreted that he wasn't going to play, because if he stayed here, given the amount of injuries they had, he would have probably played every single game if he was healthy.
Oh yeah,
bit of the irony there, but yeah, no, it's going to be fascinating just to see them go up against them. Obviously, as Marchand kind of said, he knows their tendencies, but also they know his. I would not be surprised if Chara is given those tough matchups, that they target him in terms of just, a quicker guy like Marchand or Pastrnak or Hall. I think that's one of the ways you can exploit the Capitals, if we want to go like matchup by matchup. Like the two areas the Bruins soundly beat the Capitals in this series is defense and goaltending. Cap's got some big bodies back there, but they don't have a whole lot of speed. So I would not be surprised if, whether it's just like dumping the puck in, having Chara try to corral the puck, or beating him to the loose puck. That's going to be something I think they're definitely going to target. I mean, they know everything about the player, and he knows everything about them. So that itself, just in terms of a pure matchup, is going to be fascinating to see what happens. But I would not be surprised, based on just the overall way those teams line up, that they make a concerted effort at whether it's just dumping the puck in or trying to get him to play the puck, that they're going to kind of target him. And it's not just him. I mean, you look at like Brendan Dillon, another big guy who's not very fast. They've got different areas of that lineup, especially on their decor, that you can target over a 7-game series. So it's not like Chara is going to be just like a placeholder or a complimentary player. He's not going to be like playing 10 minutes a night and you just kind of have the cutaway during the broadcast of like, oh, the history with these two guys. And it's like, Bergeron and Chara. It's not going to be like that. They're going to be matched up one-on-one for most of this series. So yeah, it's going to be fascinating to see what happens. And it's going to be a lot of, I think, Chara getting plenty of looks against the Bruins top 6, which is going to be a tough task for anyone, obviously, right?
Yeah. Also, TJ Oshie and John Carlson are out for game 1 on Saturday night. So Carlson, another guy you're losing from that decor. I know, obviously, not the greatest defensively, but still their top defenseman. Like, that's their guy. And he will be out for Saturday's game. I also think an interesting part is how they shut down the Bergeron line. How does Washington try to handle that? Do they throw the fourth line of the Dowd line? That's I'm gonna get to Hagelin and Hathaway. I'm interested to see if they do that, if they go with Lars Eller, because again, first 2 games they have last change, so they don't necessarily you can try to get that mismatch with Backstrom, Mantha, and Ovechkin in there. It's funny though, because I don't think this is a series where the Bergeron line does get shut down. I think when you really look at it, with the big slow defense, with Vitek Vanacek, which we'll get to in a bit, in net, who's been really not amazing against the Bruins this year.
He's not good.
Not good.
He's not.
He's not that great. He's not a starter. And And I just think this isn't a series. I think this is a series where they score a lot of points, actually. I think, again, high scoring series, I think, on the Bruins end of things. It's going to really, I think this series really hinges on the Bruins' ability to keep the puck out of their own net. Because, I mean, I don't know how you don't score 3 to 4 goals a game in this series.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think it's definitely a series. You look at just I'm sure as this podcast goes on, we're going to go into our predictions, what have you. But the more you kind of look at this matchup, sure, it's dominated by how physical the Caps are. You got to watch out for Tom Wilson. All valid concerns, right? These are things that can change the course of a series if a guy gets knocked out. But, you look at the underlying numbers, which people sometimes don't want to point at, because you look at underlying numbers, the Bruins should have smoked the Blues going into that series, right? So there's only so much you can go draw from that. You just look at the pure matchups wise. A lot of them really don't favor the Capitals in this series. Like you look at Bergeron, most likely he's going to be matched up against the Ovechkin's line. So Ovechkin, Kuznetsov, and Wilson. And through
Has
7
Mantha
games,
been playing up there? Hasn't Mantha been playing up there a bit?
I think it's been Mantha, Backstrom, and Oshie, I want to say, is the usual. Obviously that will change now with a few of those guys out of the lineup with Oshie. But you look at Bergeron's primarily matched up against Ovechkin, and through 7 games, they've outscored the Ovechkin line 6-0. Pretty good.
That's
not
bad.
So not only are they generating chances, they're also shutting down a line. But let's say it's a situation where at the very least, the Bergeron line is shutting down the Ovechkin line. And maybe, let's just say for the sake of it, over a series only scores 1 or 2 even strength goals. You obviously want a lot more, but hey, the good thing about this team, you also have a 1B line that is also capable of scoring goals in bunches, right? I mean, we'll see kind of how the Capitals handle that matchup, of whether it's, you're kind of damned if you don't, right? Like, who do you want to put like that Dowd line against and see how they match up? But you look at, if the Bergeron's able to at least stop Ovechkin, you've got Krejci, Hall, and Smith, who have outscored teams 13-1 together this year, which is nuts. That's crazy. Over such a small sample size, especially. And then, I mean, I think the key things is going to be that third line of Coyle, Ritchie, and Corrali. Like, that's a team that's a line that's equipped to handle the Capitals, another big physical team. You don't really know what their matchup's going to be. Is it going to be Ala Zeller in the third line? Is it going to be a fourth line? So you kind of just look at the overall matchups. And yeah, as you said, the Bruins have generated tons and tons of chances against the Capitals. It's not just the fact that their goaltending is not great. I mean, whether it's Vanacek or if Samsonov comes back, it doesn't really give you a whole lot of optimism. Their defense, if you're moving fast, if you're winning puck battles, if you're the first one in on the puck, you're going to have a lot of time in the offensive zone, and a lot of great ice is going to be available to you. So, I mean, out of all the teams the Bruins have played this year, only the Sabres have been the team that they've scored more goals against. The Bruins are averaging 3.5 goals a game against the Capitals this year. And mind you, this is also with only one of those games being once Taylor Hall and Mike Riley and Curtis Lazar arrived. This is back when the Bruins were still pretty much a one-line, top-heavy team. So you kind of just look at the overall matchups and where these guys slot in. Like, yeah, I think it's all going to come down to, how this series can go wrong for the Bruins is if guys get knocked around and hurt. If they spend way too much time in the box, and if they're just pure outscored on, it's going to come down to the goaltending situation, which I don't know about you. I would take Tuukka Rask and Jeremy Swayman as opposed to Vanacek and Samsonov.
They also might have Craig Anderson. That could be a guy that they might have to bring in. That's Craig Anderson. I mean, said this against the Bruins in the past, so there is that. It's so funny. I looked up the Capitals line combinations because I'm unfortunately not super well versed in them from the season. They changed so much. So I was looking at them and I was like, I wonder how updated this is, because it's that website like Daily Faceoff. So I went to look at the Bruins line combinations, and they're from last night, or they're from Tuesday night. So the first line of, if you're a Capitals fan right now and you want to see what the Bruins look like, you see a first line of Jake DeBrusk, Curtis Lazar, Chris Wagner. You're thinking, wait a second, what happened to Bergeron and Pastrnak and Marchand? So I just find that hilarious that the website hasn't been updated yet. You're right, though, on the matchups. Like, again, I think it comes down to, if the Capitals are to beat the Bruins, they're going to have to take the Blues approach that they had in 2019, which was beat the hell out of them. Just beat the hell out of them. I also think, again, the Blues got fortunate with Binnington playing extremely well in game 7. You had some other games that he was solid in, and then the games he wasn't solid in, he was absolutely garbage. So there was that. But the Blues also had a stronger decor. I think they were a little bit deeper up front, if I remember correctly. I mean, they didn't have anyone with the power of Ovechkin, but they were a little deeper. But again, I think that's the way you got. If you're the Capitals, that's how you beat the Bruins. So let's get to predictions. Because before we started this, I remember in the weeks leading up to this, because I am going to give a prediction that I think many people might be surprised at. In the weeks leading up to this on both podcasts, I have said how I would have rather played the Penguins. And it was really the only reason was because the Capitals were super physical and you're going to have guys who are hurt. And I worry about how the Bruins move on to round 2 with guys who are super banged up. But again, playoff hockey is physical no matter what. But when you really look at things, actually, I'll let you give your prediction first.
Yeah, I'm going to go bold. I'm going to say Bruins going to win 5.
Okay.
I think you just look at the matchups, the fact that one, it seems like both teams are turning in different directions in terms of the injury bug. I mean, losing a guy like Carlson, who's one of the more mobile guys you have on defense. Oshie, who's been great, especially on the power play. He's been dynamite for them in the bumper, especially when playing against the Bruins. So you lose those 2 guys. You also have a whole bunch of guys that are going to be banged up, right? Like I wouldn't be surprised if, especially in the first couple of games, the Bruins make an emphasis on, finishing their checks against, Ovechkin, Wilson.
Yeah, because Ovechkin's day to day.
Yeah. Backstrom was just coming off a lower body injury. Kuznetsov's coming off of COVID protocol. So I don't really know how he's going to look. Yeah, you look at these first couple of games, you got a pretty good opportunity to build a pretty solid lead and make your presence felt physically. So you look at just the way they're training differently, injury wise. And again, like I can't see the Bruins unless, again, the Capitals knock out 4 or 5 guys. I can't see them winning every single game 5-4, 6-4. I can't see that situation, especially considering that you just look at the matchups. I don't know what the Caps do to negate the Bergeron line playing like this, the Krejci line playing like this, the fact that you might have something in that third line, like, as dangerous as the Caps power play is, and you have to make an emphasis on not taking stupid penalties, of not having a parade of guys go into the box. You can't, it's not like the Bruins PK is like a vulnerable thing. They haven't done well against the Caps this year, like, of course, but they also have the second-ranked PK in the league. Like, they're not like it's like this Achilles heel or fatal flaw with this team. And you kind of look at what has been kind of the root cause of quite a few of the Bruins' last couple of playoff exits. A lot of it's come down to, not getting knocked around by the Blues or just not being able to get inside and generate chances. And you look at the way the Bruins are playing now, you've got legitimate secondary scoring with that Krejci line. Third line, again, has defied my expectations. I'm sure a lot of other people in terms of how well they've played. And again, it's not like the people are worried that the Caps are going to just run them over. It's not like the Bruins are the Rangers, right? Where like you can have a bunch of little guys like trying to get involved with Tom Wilson. Like they've got big guys, it might involve Cassidy for a few games, maybe tinkering with the lineup. Maybe you go with Frederick for a game, even though he hasn't been that effective lately, or Wagner, or Tenorti is a third pairing guy. You bring him in for a game if you get knocked around quite a bit. You've got guys there, along with guys that are regularly in the lineup, right? Like Richie, Kevin Miller, Lozon can hold his own. So you're kind of equipped to handle kind of the worst that the Capitals can throw at you, and the Capitals aren't equipped to handle the best of what you can throw at them. So 5 is probably a little bit bold. Wouldn't be surprised if it goes to 6, but you look at the matchups wise and the way that these teams are trending, you have to imagine the Bruins are going to land quite a few punches against the Capitals.
Yeah. So you went bolder than I did. I was going to do 5 for the Bruins, but I landed on 6. I think it's going to be Bruins in 6. I hate when people say when it's going to be in 7, because I think that's kind of like a way to kind of be on the fence about stuff. Yeah. So I always hate like people do like a prediction in 7. I say Bruins in 6 solely because I don't know if I don't see a series where the Capitals only win once. I see them winning twice. But again, for everything you just said, like the matchups wise, and when you really look at the goaltending, like you can't tell me Vitek Vanacek is going to stand on his head for 4 wins. I don't see that happening. Nothing makes me want to say that's going to happen. To me, and again, the D are slow, and the Bruins are hot. Like that's another thing. Like, screw the Capitals. The Bruins are on a freaking heater, and they've been that way since the deadline. And so I think when you really when you look at it, this team has a feel about it. They have a little feel about them. And I'm not going to get ahead of myself because, but I remember last year, even like when they won the President's Trophy, I remember thinking, well, this team isn't that amazing. I don't, like they were just good in the regular season. But on paper, the matchups, I mean, the lines aren't complete. The second line isn't complete. Again, they let too many guys to the middle in their own zone. They couldn't get to the middle in the other team's zone. This team's totally different. So, yeah, I think Bruins in 6. I think Bruins should win this series. I don't know how they don't. I mean, again, unless, as you said, they get banged up to the point where they have a lineup they rolled out like Tuesday night. And even that was a 2-1 game. So you do have that. Capitals decided to play all their starters in the regular season finale when there was really no reason to do that. But that's okay. But that is the playoff. That's the first round preview. So you can have all your coverage over at CLNS Media, at Boston Sports Journal. Conor, before we go, what can the listeners look forward to at BSJ?
Yeah, we have a new site rolling out now, which we're excited to unveil, and we'll be having plenty of content going up in the days leading up to Game 1 on Saturday. So we'll obviously have a big kind of preview dropping on Friday, going through matchups, and again, I think we maybe kind of spoiled our overall predictions, but that will be included in there as well. But looking at a couple of other playoff matchups and looking around the league as well. So you can find all that stuff over at BSJ on the new site. So subscribe over at bostonsportsjournal.com. If you want to follow me on Twitter, you can do that at ConorRyan_93.
If BSJ was a stock, it's good to invest in now because it's only trending up. It's only trending up. It's a stocks, baby. Stock talk.
Stonks.
Anyways, that is Poke the Bear episode 43. I'm Evan Marinofski. That's Conor Ryan. You Poke the Bear listeners, have an amazing rest of your day.